Asalam E Walikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our channel, where we explore the meaning and wisdom of the Quran. In this video, we will be discussing the first surah of the Quran, Surat al-Fatiha, which is also known as the opening or the essence of the Quran. This surah is recited by Muslims in every prayer, and it contains 7 verses that summarize the core message and teachings of Islam. We will be using the Tafsir, or commentary of Syed Abul A'ala Maududi, a renowned Islamic scholar and thinker, who wrote a comprehensive and insightful explanation of the Quran, called Tafsir al-Quran, or the meaning of the Quran. Let us begin with the first verse. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. This verse is not counted as part of the surah, but it is a formula that precedes every surah except Surat al-Tawbah. It is a declaration of faith and trust in God, who is the source of all blessings and mercy. It also expresses our gratitude and praise to Him for revealing His guidance to us through the Quran. Maududi explains that this verse teaches us that we should always begin our actions and speech with the name of God and seek His help and protection in everything we do. He also says that this verse shows us that God is not only powerful and majestic, but also compassionate and loving, and that He wants us to benefit from His mercy and grace. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the entire universe. This verse is the first verse of the surah, and it is a statement of praise and gratitude to God, who is the creator and sustainer of everything that exists. He is not only the Lord of this world, but also of all other worlds and realms that we may not know or see. He is the one who provides for all His creatures, and who guides them to their ultimate destiny. Maududi says that this verse teaches us that we should always acknowledge God's favors and blessings upon us, and that we should worship Him alone, without associating any partners or rivals with Him. He also says that this verse implies that God has a purpose and a plan for His creation, and that He has sent His messengers and scriptures to inform us of His will and commandments. The Most Merciful, the Most Compassionate. This verse repeats 2 of God's names that were mentioned in the first verse, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. These names are derived from the same root word, which means mercy or compassion. However, they have different meanings and implications. Ar-Rahman means that God is infinitely merciful and generous to all His creatures, regardless of their faith or deeds. He gives them life, health, sustenance, beauty, knowledge, and many other gifts without any limit or condition. Ar-Rahim means that God is especially merciful and forgiving to those who believe in Him and obey Him. He rewards them with guidance, peace, happiness, forgiveness, and paradise in this life and in the hereafter. Maududi says that this verse teaches us that we should always remember God's mercy and kindness towards us, and that we should seek His forgiveness and favor by following His path. He also says that this verse shows us that God's mercy is not arbitrary or unjust, but rather it is based on His wisdom and justice. The Master of the Day of Recompense. This verse reminds us of God's sovereignty and authority over all things, especially on the Day of Judgment, when He will judge every person according to their deeds and intentions. On that day, no one will have any power or intercession except by His permission. He will reward those who did good with eternal bliss, and punish those who did evil with eternal torment. Maududi says that this verse teaches us that we should always fear God's wrath and accountability, and that we should prepare ourselves for that inevitable day by doing righteous deeds and avoiding sins. He also says that this verse shows us that God's justice is perfect and absolute, and that He will not wrong anyone or let anyone wrong another. You alone do we worship, and you alone do we turn to for help. This verse is the central verse of the surah, and it is a declaration of our loyalty and devotion to God. It also expresses our dependence and reliance on Him for everything we need. We worship God alone, without any partners or intermediaries, because He is the only one worthy of our worship. We also seek His help alone, without any other sources or means, because He is the only one who can help us in every situation. Maududi says that this verse teaches us that we should always be sincere and humble in our worship and supplication to God, and that we should not associate anything or anyone with Him in any way. He also says that this verse shows us that God is the only one who can fulfill our needs and desires, and that He is the only one who can protect us from harm and evil, direct us onto the straight way. This verse is a prayer and a request to God to guide us to the right path, which is the path of Islam, the path of His prophets and messengers, the path of His revelation and commandments, the path of His pleasure and reward. This path is straight, clear, easy, and safe. But it is also narrow, difficult, and challenging. It requires faith, knowledge, action, patience, and perseverance. Maududi says that this verse teaches us that we should always ask God for guidance and direction, and that we should not rely on our own opinions or whims. He also says that this verse shows us that God's guidance is a favor and a blessing from Him, and that He grants it to those who sincerely seek it and strive for it, the way of those whom you have favored, who did not incur your wrath, who are not astray. This verse specifies the characteristics of the people who follow the straight path, and contrasts them with the characteristics of the people who deviate from it. The people who follow the straight path are those whom God has favored with His guidance, mercy, grace, and bounty. They are the prophets, the righteous, the martyrs, and the truthful. They are those who obey God and His messengers, and who do good deeds for His sake. The people who deviate from the straight path are those who incur God's wrath by disobeying Him and opposing His messengers. They are the disbelievers, the hypocrites, the transgressors, and the oppressors. They are those who follow their own desires and whims, and who do evil deeds for their own benefit. Maududi says that this verse teaches us that we should always emulate the example of the people of the straight path, and that we should avoid the ways of the people of deviation. He also says that this verse shows us that God's favor and wrath are based on His knowledge and wisdom, and that He knows best who deserves them. This concludes our discussion of Surat al-Fatiha. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more videos on Quran Tafsir. May Allah bless you all. Asalam E Walikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.